do it in the desert, week 17. It's the NFL on Fox, and this matchup on America's Game of the Week. The Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. And now welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Joe Buck. Troy Aikman and Aaron Andrews are both coming right up. Well, let's take the Arizona side of it. They've won 9 straight. They're setting franchise records seemingly every time they take the field. This could be the one week, and it's weird, where health is the priority over winning. Go over here to my left and talk about the Seattle Seahawks, a team that's coming off a loss at home to Seattle, just St. Louis. It really surprised a lot of people. They had won 5 straight. What's their priority here today?
Well, it's interesting when you look at Seattle. They're playing next week in the wild card round, regardless of whatever happens here this afternoon. And typically, then you would want to try to maybe rest some of these players. But as well as they were playing during that 5-game win streak, they did not play well last week against the St. Louis Rams in that loss. And Pete Carroll knows the Seahawks are a dangerous football team in the postseason if they're playing as well as they can play. And that's where he wants to get this team at the end of today's ball game.
Well, let's learn more about how these coaches plan to attack this game and go down to the field. And Aaron Andrews.
Yeah, well, for Arizona, several of the players went to Bruce Arians and begged him not to rest any of the guys. But for Seattle, much different story, like Troy just mentioned. They didn't even need to have that conversation with Pete Carroll. Linebacker Bobby Wagner told me we let one slip away against St. Louis last week. And now, any of those mistakes we had, we need to correct them today, because if we don't, we're going to be packing up our bags next week, going home, and wishing we had gone about things in a much different way. Joe?
All right, Aaron, thank you. There is Pete Carroll. Somehow this Seattle Seahawks team was able to put the heartbreak of losing the Super Bowl when they had it in their grasp a yard away last February in this stadium. First time back here since they lost to the Patriots. That's not a great memory for this team or those fans. They come rolling in here, and we'll talk about how their season has gone. They've really redefined what kind of a team they are offensively. You know, the Seahawks won the toss. They defer. It's Arizona's ball to start this day. And Kerwin Williams will take a knee. The numbers are fantastic for Carson Palmer. Turned 36 last Sunday. He is having a career year. You see what he's done. This 9-0 record the last 9 games. The numbers are through the roof, yet coming out of this one, Arizona Cardinals fans and the team, they want to see production, but they want to see him smiling and walking off this field at the end of the day.
That's right. They want to see him walking off the field healthy, and so does this coaching staff. And regardless of what Bruce Arians has been saying all week long, he will be keeping an eye on that Carolina game. And if it looks like they're going to win, he's going to make sure he protects some of these players.
They start with a throw. A quick one. It's Fitzgerald sliding with a catch at the 35. Sherman's there for Seattle. A gain of 15 to start the day for the Arizona offense.
Well, Larry Fitzgerald came into this game needing 1 reception to set a career high with 104 receptions in a season, and he gets it on the very first play. And on the very first play, you also see Carson Palmer on the ground, and Bruce Arians not liking that at all.
It was a torn left ACL that got him last November. Talking about Carson Palmer, same ACL that blew out in January of '06. Got a quick hit there, and now this one is caught by Fitzgerald on the other side. And a gain of 3. This is the #1 offense in the NFL. They're averaging just over 420 yards per game. And there is Fitzgerald, who has had a renaissance now moving into the slot. As we talked about last week, same thing Bruce Arians did with Hines Ward in Pittsburgh.
I think the fact that they're able to move him around and keep defenses from really keying on him, and the fact that he played through a number of injuries the last couple of seasons, and for the first time in a while, he's pretty healthy.
Handoff is to Johnson, and this rookie, who's been a revelation, runs right into the waiting arms of KJ Wright. Make no mistake about it, this is an outstanding defense yet again. #2 in the NFL. They're playing without Cam Chancellor. You see the 2 Pro Bowlers listed there, and it's Lane getting the start out at right corner, but we'll see a lot of Deshaun Shedd.
Yeah, Deshaun Shedd, who, you know, really plays both positions, both safety and corner. He stepped in when they released Kerry Williams, but Jeremy Lane is healthy, and he's got more playing time here in recent weeks and will again today.
Palmer for Floyd. Pass broken up, and there's Sherman for Seattle. They got one on Richard on the first play from scrimmage. This time on 3rd down and 6. Sherman steps up.
Well, Bruce Arians, in visiting with him yesterday, said that he likes the matchups and they will go against Richard Sherman with no hesitation. But Richard Sherman, as expected, plays it beautifully, forces a punt.
Butler, line drive punt. Lockett, the rookie, on the return to the near side. Good return. What a year he's had. Whether returning punts or kicks or playing on the outside in offense, he's been terrific. But a flag is down on the far side of the field.
During the kick, holding, receiving team number 25. That penalty will be administered from the end of the kick. First down.
Richard Sherman is guilty of the hold. He wants an explanation. Didn't look like much. No score here early in Glendale.
Today's game is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency, no fares, nothing to hide.
Mentally strong young players in the NFL. Russell Wilson back near that end zone, where his fate and the fate of the Seahawks was sealed last February in that loss to the New England Patriots. And Troy, as Curse makes this catch, instead of back-to-back Super Bowl championships, they ended with that interception, just knocking on the door. And you were talking before the game, I don't know how you ever get over that.
Well, you don't ever get over it. I mean, you're reminded of it really every day. And I can assure you, when Russell Wilson and all of these players and coaches that were a part of that last season walked into this building, they were reminded once again.
Wilson has been on a tear. There's been nobody better in the league. And he's doing things we've never seen him do in the NFL. 2nd and 2. Here's Lockett, and the rookie's got a first down. This offense is different than the typical Seattle Seahawks offense you're used to seeing if you haven't seen them in a while. Here is a look at some of the faces. They have Mark Glowinski starting at right guard and Alvin Bailey starting again at left tackle, with Kristen Michael back in the fold and Doug Baldwin having a career year ×2.
An offensive line that has given up a lot of hits the last 2 weeks to Russell Wilson, and yet here this afternoon against a good Cardinals defense without 2 of their starters.
Play action from Wilson, looking for Helfit, and one of the 2 healthy active tight ends for the Seahawks makes the catch, good for 4. Minter on the stop. And Minter is part of this defense, and you see what the numbers are, averaging just over 12 points allowed over the last 5 games. And we're seeing the top 2 corners arguably in the NFL here today, in Richard Sherman and Patrick Peterson.
Yeah, both these defenses are really built a lot alike. They're hard to run the football against, outstanding secondaries, and as you pointed out, they've got some real studs there at the corner position.
Here's Michael, who's back, and he runs into a wall. 3rd down coming up, a gain of 1. Calais Campbell, who will be headed to his 2nd Pro Bowl unless the Cardinals are involved in the upcoming Super Bowl. The key inactives: Lynch, they expect him back on Monday. Wilson, the tight end. Sweezy, the right guard. Okun, the left tackle. And the great Cam Chancellor, the strong safety. There's Russell Okun, who is out for the 2nd straight week. Pulled calf. 3rd and 5. Pass is caught. And these days, when you see a ball leave the right hand of Russell Wilson, You expect it to end up in the arms of Doug Baldwin. He has been unstoppable.
Yeah, he really has. He cuts his split down, so he's got a lot of field to work with, and he runs the out route, and Russell Wilson lays it out to him. And boy, what a chemistry these two guys have had here this year. Of course, been playing together for a number of years, but as you pointed out earlier, Joe, Doug Baldwin has been red hot.
Christine Michael, right side, picks up a yard. You know, you think Seattle, you think Marshawn Lynch. He's been out. He had abdominal surgery. They expect him back in the building on Monday and hope that he's ready for the first playoff game next week. But now it's a lot of empty sets, and it's Russell Wilson dropping back, and it's him picking apart secondaries. In the last 6 games, he's had a quarterback rating of over 134. As Corey Redding needs some help to get back to the sideline. Redding has been bothered by a bad ankle as he limps away. And into the right knee went left tackle Alvin Bailey.
Well, you talk about this offense, Joe, for Seattle, and yeah, they still run the ball. I mean, that's their philosophy. That's what they want to do. They run it 4th most in the National Football League. But no question, when you don't have Marshawn Lynch and then you lose Rawls, who was really playing well, they have opened things up a little bit more than what we had seen before.
2nd down and 9. Pass is caught by Baldwin, but a flag is down. Gain of 6 by Doug Baldwin. We'll see who it's against. And here again from Brad Allen. Offensive pass interference.
Pass interference. Offense number 16. 10-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
Well, there's Tyler Lockett, and he's on the outside, and I didn't really see that he did much. Initially, I thought they were going to call it on Patrick Peterson as he came off the ball. But that's what the official threw the flag on.
It was a return on the punt by Lockett. It was a good one. Instead of starting at their own 44, the penalty on Richard Sherman backed them up. Drive started back at the 13. Here's a handoff. Michael, and he's going to break loose. Christine Michael down at the 25, brought down by Johnson. 45 yards for Christine Michael.
Well, I've seen Seattle do this a lot in the games that we've covered, Joe. They split out their wide receivers way out here, and they create a lot of space. I've never seen Seattle throw the ball out of that look. Every time we've called a game and they've gotten in the formation, they have handed it off. They do again to Christine Michael, and a heck of a gain by him.
Now Bryce Brown in the backfield on 1st down. And he gets it. Bouncing it left side, and Peterson shoves him out. We talked about Marshawn Lynch. Aaron, he is due back on Monday. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I actually spoke with Tariq Azim, the founder of Empowered Gym in San Francisco, where Marshawn has been working out since his surgery. And he said he's been working with Marshawn about 8 to 10 hours a day. And from everything that he can tell, he will be back with Seattle on Monday. Joe, he said the biggest thing for him is just working with discomfort. This is Marshawn's very first surgery that he's ever had. I'll add more after this play.
On 2nd and 6, Wilson out to his right. Helfet the tight end. Well-designed play, and Helfet is down inside the 5. They're going to mark him down at the 1. A 20-yard catch and run by Cooper Helfet.
Well, you see these linebackers, they don't honor the fact that Helfet's going to come across the formation, and so he gets lost. And all Russell Wilson has to do is navigate the rush, lay it over the top, and Helfet's wide open then in the flat.
But Russell Wilson has started 4 for 4, 39 yards. This will be the 10th play of the drive. 1st and goal from the 1. Michael, nothing. Aaron, go ahead and finish the thought on Marshawn Lynch.
The good news for all the Seahawks fans wondering about Marshawn Lynch is what Tariq Azim told me is last week in all the training, they could see Marshawn running around people. This week, with all the training and rehabilitation, they could actually see him running through people, which is exactly what Seattle needs to see when he comes back Monday.
They would use him in a spot like this.
Yeah, Marshawn doesn't run around many people, does he?
He runs through the media, too. 2nd and goal. Wilson's going to run it in. He slides, and they are calling him short. Remember, it's at the spot where the football is when the slide begins.
I think that's going to be a good call, too. I was surprised that Russell slid here rather than just diving in. It's pretty close as to where the ball was exactly.
It brings up 3rd down and goal. No challenge. See if the Seahawks can pound it in.
Well, Pete went running out on the field to make sure the play got challenged.
So during the challenge, we'll bring Mike Pereira in back in L.A. What'd you see, Mike?
I'll tell you, you've got a quarterback slide, which means that the ball is down when the first body part other than the hand or foot hits the ground. So when the shin hit here, he's short.
We'll get the official call from Brad Allen when we come back.
Today's game is sponsored by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL.
We'll get the call here from Brad Allen.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. The runner was short of the goal line. Seattle is charged a timeout and loses their first challenge.
And you watch this back in real speed. That's really a great call by Brad Allen and his crew. Getting the call right in real time.
When the shin is down, not at the end of the slide, it's where the ball is, and he was just short. And they are inches away.
Well, they got the big fullback, Will Tukuafu, and you're going to get in behind somebody and run the football. He's a pretty good one to get in behind.
It's Bryce Brown back in there for the touchdown. And the Seahawks with an impressive first drive, scoring first here in Arizona today.
Well, Will Tukuafu, he's the lead blocker at the fullback position, and as I said, he clears out a hole, as you're going to see. He takes on the linebacker, and then it's just a matter of getting it across the goal line. And it's a great job of finishing off this drive after being stopped with the slide on 2nd down.
Michael helped get him down there, and Brown takes it in. 12-play drive, covering 88 yards in over 7 minutes off the clock. 7-0, Seahawks on top. Take a break, come back, and go through some of the playoff scenarios on the other side. America's game of the week in the desert. 7-0 Seahawks. Aerial coverage provided by Nationwide. They are packed in here, and they've been packed in here a lot, whether it's for the Arizona Cardinals or all of the college action that's already happened or will happen. The national championship game is here on January 11th, Clemson and Alabama. Right now it's the Seahawks and the Cardinals. 7-0 Seattle on top. Another drive that starts at the 20. Television history will be made on January 17th. And the first ever UFC title bout comes to FS1. Bantamweight champ TJ Dillashaw puts his belt on the line as he takes on former champ and #1 ranked contender Dominic Cruz. It all begins Sunday, January 17th, only on Fox Sports 1. For the Arizona Cardinals, they are at worst a #2 seed. If they win here today and Carolina loses at home to Tampa Bay, they would be a #1 seed. Here's Johnson. He gets hit in the backfield. And the plays made by the rookie Frank Clark. And the matchup here today, is strength on strength. For total offense, number 5 for Seattle, number 1 for Arizona, and the defense. These are the only teams in the NFL ranked in the top 5 in both offense and defense.
Pretty impressive. Yeah, when you look around the league, you know, are usually good on one side of the ball, and really speaks to the job that these personnel guys have done as well. I mean, talented players on both sides.
Second and 10. This one is floated and picked. Intercepted by Jeremy Lane. And an early turnover by Carson Palmer. That's interception number 11.
I think Carson Palmer's wondering why a flag wasn't thrown. Larry Fitzgerald, there's contact made down the field with Earl Thomas, and the ball had left Palmer's hand at that time, and I think he thought he was going to get a penalty, and that's why he laid it up there, and just an easy then interception for Lane.
And you wonder, contact or not, if the target was the rookie J.J. Nelson. J.J.'s made 11 catches. Arians, I'm sure, wanted the flag and didn't get it. Nelson is a speed guy on the outside. 5th round pick out of UAB, and Carson Palmer's trying to figure out what just went wrong. So we'll take a break. The interception. Seattle with the lead and the football here early. Seattle takes over at the Arizona 41. Palmer looking at the pictures. Michael right side cuts up. And a good gain on first down. They say Christine Michael is like a different back than when they had him before. They traded him to Dallas earlier in the year. Here's the non-call on Earl Thomas. And during the break, Bruce Arians was livid, getting after these officials for the no call.
Yeah, I think he's right too, Joe. The contact took place after the 5 yards, and like I say, as a quarterback, you see that contact and you put the ball in the air, you plan on getting the call. They didn't get it, and it was an interception.
Wilson, end zone. The rookie out of his reach. That's Lockett. Tyler Lockett, who can just fly and who shocked Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator, all the way back in camp. He thought, well, we've got a good returner now. But what he showed him as a receiver, he's really been impressive.
Well, he sure has. And now both of these offenses have shown that they're going to go after the best corners on each team. We've seen Arizona take shot at Richard Sherman. There's Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator, and he calls up one to Tyler Lockett against the All-Pro Patrick Peterson.
3rd down and 5. Quick setup and throw. That's Curse. And he will not fight for the first down. It's 4th down. The ball inside the 35, and the field goal unit will come on. A gain of just 2. And Hauschka, who's had a terrific year, will attempt a 52-yarder. 4 for 4 from 50 and beyond. And his only miss was a block at Dallas. Week 9, November 1st. It is good. From 52 yards away. And that's points off the turnover. The pick thrown by Palmer into the arms of Lane and through the uprights. 10-0 Seattle. This Seahawks team will either be a number 5 or a number 6 seed in the upcoming NFC playoff picture. But like you've been saying all weekend, there's not any team that wants any part of the Seattle Seahawks.
This group's had success against everybody in the field.
Bruce Arians has been the coach of the year 2 of the last 3 years. And he is a great quote. Arianisms, and here we go. I don't have to please anybody. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want now from here on out. Everybody do your job, and I'll decide whether we go for it on 4th down. And Troy's favorite, I live life and call plays the same way. No risk it, no biscuit.
Well, I think it took so long. You know, he was a lifetime assistant coach, and took so long for him to get his opportunity to be the head coach. He's going to do it his way, and his way has been awfully successful.
The numbers are phenomenal. Here's Palmer, able to get rid of it, incomplete. And he was under pressure from Frank Clark. There's Arians talking with Larry Fitzgerald moments ago. This guy Arians 43-16. His record as a head coach, including that 9-3 stint as the interim head coach for Pagano in Indianapolis in 2012.
Yeah, it's been impressive, and you know, he's worked, as we talked about last week, he's benefited by some pretty talented quarterbacks, but those quarterbacks have benefited from him too.
Here's Johnson left side. He can't get anything going as Bennett is there to make the play. And Michael Bennett, who is headed to his first Pro Bowl, has been bothered by a bad toe. He got it shot up this week, and here he is.
Yeah, I talked to him before the game, Joe. He's been dealing with this toe for a number of years. He's had a couple surgeries on it already. He kind of battles through it, you know, during the week and gets as healthy as he can, and then he comes out on Sunday and plays lights out. He's a terrific player. He can line up anywhere along that defensive front. And right now, Michael Bennett and the rest of the Seattle team is just playing at a different speed than the Cardinals are.
Cardinals haven't been in this position since week 8, trailing by 10 or more points. Still in the first quarter, 3rd down and 10. Pass is caught, 1st down. And a nice catch in traffic by John Brown. A gain of 11.
Well, John Brown, he's knocking on the door for a 1,000-yard season. Here he is in his 2nd season, and it would be his first 1,000-yard season, and he had an opportunity the last couple of weeks. And you know, in visiting with Bruce Arians, he says, yeah, I feel a little pressure to try to get him his 1,000 yards, but if he catches that deep ball 2 weeks ago against the Eagles, he would have had it by now. That's a good start here in this first quarter.
31 yards shy of a 1,000-yard season for John Brown. Here's Johnson out across the 35. With that, we go to Kurt Menefee, standing by with a game break.
Well, like Arizona, Kansas City has won 9 in a row. Former Seahawks Spencer Ware's 3-yard touchdown made it 14-0. They lead Oakland, and if Kansas City wins and Denver loses, the Chiefs will also win the AFC West. Denver, though, leading right now 7-3 in San Diego. Joe?
Kurt, thanks. The Broncos can be a 1, a 3, or a 5 seed at the end of the day.
We talk about Coach of the Year candidates. How about Andy Reid and the job that he did turning that season around after beginning the year 1 and 5.
Here's Johnson left side. David Johnson in the month of December, as a flag is thrown at the end of it, had more yards from scrimmage than anybody across the NFL. He's been getting better and better. See if this is against Seattle.
Personal foul, grasping the face mask, defense number 77. 15-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
It's against Ataba Rubin.
Well, it's a good call. You know, clearly face mask, 15-yard penalty, and David Johnson, who you were talking about, Joe, has just had a terrific season. And you know, last week he had just 9 carries in that ball game, so he didn't get punished much from where he had been in the 3 previous weeks, but he had just under 90 yards receiving. As we know, coming into the league, terrific receiver, and he has taken this team by storm since he got his opportunity when Chris Johnson went down a few weeks ago.
Keep an eye on the Tampa Bay Carolina score. It's 3-0 Tampa Bay. That's important out here, as Carolina and the Cardinals are battling for the #1 seed. Johnson right side, good play. That's Rubin, who just got called for the face mask. A gain of 1 as he closed down on it from behind the play.
Well, you think back to the last time these two teams met, Joe, and I think it is really a key that the Cardinals were able to move the ball. They had over 450 yards of offense. You know, they didn't run the ball all that effectively, which you wouldn't expect against a Seattle defense, but they ran it 33 times. So they've got to be able to continue to have some balance offensively. This is a nice drive they've got going right here.
In a 10-0 game after 1 quarter, Seahawks on top. Back after this from your local Fox station. 10-0 Seahawks on top as we start the second quarter. America's game of the week. Cardinals offense is, well, it's that good. Last time that the franchise had led the NFL in both the categories, yards per game and points per game, was 1948, which is what they are doing right now. Second down and 9. Palmer pulls it down and then skips it into David Johnson. Third down and 9 coming up. The Seahawks have held the league's best offense to just 38 yards so far in this game.
You know, one thing worth noting, Joe, when we visited with Bruce Arians, was he said, you remember a couple weeks ago, Carson Palmer dislocated his finger against the Philadelphia Eagles? Well, he started throwing the ball a little bit differently, compensating for that, and he developed some soreness in his lat. And so he was limited a little bit this week in practice, and Drew Stanton, who gets a fair amount of work for a backup on all weeks, got most of the work this week leading up to this game.
Here's a blitz. Pass is caught. And that's good enough for a first down by John Brown. That was a long throw by Carson Palmer across the field.
Yeah, you see they're on the right hash, and so this is one of the longer throws you'll make for one that's not down the field. And Carson Palmer, you got to lay that out on the sidelines, working against Jeremy Lane, and a good route by John Brown, and someone who really can just do it all. I mean, for someone who's got great speed and quickness and is an outstanding route runner and gets in and out of his breaks exceptionally well.
First down at the 35. David Johnson is stood up after a gain of 2. Well, when we talked to Bruce Arians, and you touched on this briefly, but Bruce is aware of the situation. He didn't want to tell his team, including Carson Palmer, that if the outcome seems likely, whether it's with Carolina at home against Tampa Bay or here, he will pull these guys out of the game, but he didn't want them mailing it in during the week of practice because they're already assured of a bye next week.
He wanted to make sure they at least got a good solid week of work, and I think that was smart on his part.
Second and 8, pass caught. Brown again, and he is down inside the 20, and he is now 6 yards shy of a 1,000-yard season.
Well, true to word, Bruce Arians feeding the ball to John Brown to see if they can't get him that 1,000 yards on the year. And a good route, like I was talking about earlier. He's got so much speed and can beat you deep that with that, if you use that to your advantage, then you become even more difficult to defend on those intermediate and shorter throws, and you create a lot of separation and a lot of space for your quarterback.
To Johnson again. They're sticking with the run. A gain of about 1.5 yards. Cassius Marsh, along with KJ Wright, is in there to make the stop. And for Arizona, coming off their first NFC West title since 2009, they are putting together at least a 12-play drive here down 10.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, they're not getting much out of their run game. David Johnson has just 13 yards on 8 carries, but yet they're balanced. So they're keeping this defense honest, and they're going to try to keep him from just teeing off on Carson Palmer with this pass rush.
Play action. Fitzgerald. Touchdown. Career touchdown catch number 98 for the 9-time Pro Bowler.
Well, you try to hold defenders off of the play action, but that had no real impact on Seattle defensively. The slot defender there just was starting to go underneath the outside route, and it opened up the throwing lane for Larry Fitzgerald in the slot. That's great work finishing off this drive after they started this game down 10 points.
What a career he's had. First round pick out of Pitt in 2004. His first 100 catch season since 2007. This one is blocked right. And for Catanzaro, that is extra point miss number 5. And it's a 10-6 game here in the desert. Seattle on top.
Today's game is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By T-Mobile. Ditch your carrier and switch to the Un-carrier. And by Taco Bell's Crunch Wrap Sliders. 4 full-size flavors, just $1 each.
These guys have been busy painting this field over and over again. Cardinals are on the board, but Catanzaro, he's been hanging his head. That's 5 missed extra points this season. For Catanzaro, there were 8 across the entire league last year. This year they moved the extra point line of scrimmage from the 2 to the 15. And Catanzaro has struggled with what is in essence a 33-yard extra point.
Yeah, that's a real concern. I mean, there's not really any weaknesses on this Arizona team, but when you get a kicker who starts missing these types of kicks, extra points and field goals, especially when you're about to embark on the postseason, that's a real concern for Bruce Arians.
He's missed only 2 field goal tries, but the extra point maybe in his head a little bit. 5 misses now, 53 of 58. Up by 4, starting at the 20 is Russell Wilson. Tyler Lockett in the backfield with him. And they hand it to him. Running right, nothing there. First guy that made the play was Okafor. Loss of 1. From the top to the bottom, these are 2 of the best run franchises, not in the NFC West, but in the NFL. Steve Keim on the left, the general manager of the Arizona Cardinals, and John Schneider, the GM of the Seahawks, who've been to back-to-back Super Bowls.
Like I said, I mean, when you're that good on both sides of the ball, the guys that we just showed that are making the decisions on the personnel, they're finding talent. They're not all in the top rounds. I mean, you look at Seattle and the undrafted free agents that they have on this team that are making impacts. Pretty impressive.
This was blown dead. A timeout taken by Arizona.
Charge timeout. Arizona. Second.
So a 10-6 game as Carolina has taken a 4-point lead at home over Tampa Bay. Timeout, Cardinals. Arizona's down to 1 timeout. 11-12 left in the first half. It'll be second down and 11 from the 19-yard line for Seattle. Green Bay plays tonight at home against the Minnesota Vikings for the NFC North. And the first round of the playoffs in the NFC really hinging on what happens tonight.
Well, here's that formation again with the receivers out wide. We'll see if they hand it off or if they maybe throw it.
Short throw not there, trying to set up a screen for Michael. Third down and 11 coming up.
And one of the reasons why you do that, you try to see how they're going to play. If they're going to play a man coverage and put people out there, you try to stretch the field as much as you can. They try to come off of that with the screen pass, and Arizona plays it well.
Now 3rd and 11. Wilson has been hit a lot the previous 2 weeks. Hit only once so far today. Timeout taken by Russell Wilson with the play clock winding down. And with that, as they will talk it over on the sideline before this 3rd down and 11, we'll welcome you back inside the booth I'm Joe, that's Troy, and talking about the NFC, a lot hinging on what happens tonight with regard to Green Bay playing at home against Minnesota. And this Seattle team, they were rolling up until last week. They look good here today. They're going to be tough to beat.
Well, they are, because they've got experience. I mean, they've been to the last 2 Super Bowls. Of course, they won the one 2 years ago, and they've got playoff experience, and they've got the key nucleus of their group. And the thing is going into the playoffs healthy. But when you look at what Seattle has been able to do in recent years against the rest of the playoff field, as we talked about, I sure wouldn't want to see them.
3rd and 11. Three men on the rush. Wilson steps into it. Middle of the field. Pass is caught by Lockett. 3rd down and 11 and a completion of 36 to Tyler Lockett.
And Joe, you talked about, what a good job this offensive line is doing in this game in protecting Russell Wilson. He has a nice pocket. He steps up. Tyler Lockett at the end of this play does a great job of using his body. The ball was a little underthrown, but he's able to use his body to shield Justin Bethel and make the play on the ball. Good call there on 3rd and long by Darrell Bevell.
Here's Michael. A lot of room to run. He gets about 9. And we'll get an update on Carolina. Here's Kurt.
Well, Carolina put the pressure on Arizona. If they win, they are the #1 seed regardless. Cam Newton for 1-yard score. They lead at 7-3 right now in an important game in Carolina. Joe, Troy, Eric.
Carolina clinches the #1 seed with a win. Leading at home over Tampa Bay, 2nd and 1. And Michael's not going to get it. Brought down immediately at the line of scrimmage. 3rd and 1.
Yeah, you think about this Arizona defense, Joe, and really both defenses. When you get to 3rd and long, they are hard to convert. They're very good getting off the field, forcing punts off of 3rd down. James Betcher and this Arizona defense, they bring as much pressure on passing downs as anybody in football. And we saw Russell Wilson call timeout on 3rd down. He saw that it was going to be the blitz. They get the one-on-one look, and they keep this drive going. This Seattle offense certainly has rebounded from what they showed us last week.
Here's Michael for a 1st down. We started to get into it. When Christine Michael was traded to the Dallas Cowboys, you get word that trickles down, well, he wasn't really focused. He didn't really get it. Well, he goes to Dallas. He ends up getting cut loose there. He spends some time with Washington, gets cut loose, comes back to Seattle because of the injuries, not only to Lynch, but to Rawls. And he's been like a different guy.
He's a talented guy. He was a former 2nd-round pick by Seattle, but he was regarded as a bit of a knucklehead. And I think some of those stops this year made him realize he better pull it together if he's going to stay in this league.
On 1st down, pass is caught. And a good leaping grab by Doug Baldwin as Russell Wilson let it fly under heavy pressure. Good for 15.
Yeah, and a good route by Doug Baldwin there in the middle. And you see him able to create some space in the middle of the field. And Russell Wilson, now he does get hit at the end of this play. But like we talked about, they've got a rookie starting at right guard for J.R. Sweezy, making his first NFL start. And then once again, without Russell Okung, out at left tackle.
Inside the red zone are the Seahawks. Wilson keeps it. Out to the edge. Buchanan is on his back. But a nice play on 1st down.
You just can't go to sleep on Russell Wilson. Tony Jefferson, he's out there off of the edge, and he's just expecting the ball to be handed off. And when Russell keeps it, there's no outside contain, and he's able to pick up a nice gain.
Coming into this game, Russell Wilson has carried it 2 times for 9 yards. He gained 541 yards on the ground. Out of time in Cardinals territory for Seattle. Here's Brown. 1st down.
To follow up on Christine Michael, Joe, that You know, I asked Pete Carroll, okay, you're without Marshawn Lynch, and they're talking like they are going to get him back, as you said earlier, in the postseason, but then they lose Thomas Rawls, who is carrying the load and the team's leading rusher. Does this become a running back by committee, you know, with the guys they now have? And he says, I don't like the term, and it's Christian Michael's job. He's going to have the bulk of the carries and prove to us that he can be the guy.
First and goal, and Brown gets nothing. Rodney Gunter, who is the rookie nose tackle, was in there to make the stop for Arizona.
Bryce Brown, when they bring him in, you know, he was signed, released, signed, released, signed. I mean, I think he was getting dizzy as many times as he had come onto the roster and then got released, and he's getting his opportunities now.
Wilson, the fullback, Tukuafu for the touchdown. First catch of the year, and it's good for a score. And Russell Wilson has now tied the franchise record. 32 touchdown passes this season to tie Dave Craig, who set that mark in 1984.
Well, they set it up because they'd been running this play with Tukuafu at fullback as the lead blocker, and that's what they're anticipating. Why not? Like you said, he hadn't caught a ball all year. It's no wonder that he was as open as he was. Then you got to make the catch. Makes the catch, and they finish off this drive. This offense, they've looked awfully good here in this first half.
Seahawks now have gone touchdown, field goal, touchdown, and lead it 17-6. They forgot about Tukuafu. Big 46 takes it in as the Seahawks add to their lead here in Arizona.
Today's game is sponsored by Ford. We go further so you can.
Go back to week 10. Cardinals at the Seahawks. Carson Palmer, 3 touchdown passes, threw for 363. The Cardinals led 19-0. The Seahawks came roaring back, led 29-25. Cardinals won it 39-32, and Bruce Stanton with the sideline reaction of the year. And a big day points-wise for Arizona. That just doesn't happen up in Seattle against these Seahawks. There's the latest drive, and a 17-6 lead here over the Cardinals. 39-32 game, the most points allowed by Seattle since 2010. Richard Sherman enjoyed it. The touchdown for Tukuafu. His first touchdown catch. Up 11. Panthers are right now the #1 seed. They are leading their game at home over Tampa Bay. Cardinals #2. First time they've had a bye heading into the playoffs in franchise history. I'm curious to hear your take on the Green Bay Packers. We were here last week when they allowed 9 sacks to the Arizona Cardinals. The Packers are not trending the right way. I think they have their hands full tonight at home against the Vikings.
Well, there's no doubt about that, but yet they're playing a Minnesota team that they've had success against. You think back a few weeks ago, Packers had lost 3 in a row, and then they went to Minnesota and really dominated that football game. The Packers are not confident at all at this time, but I wouldn't count them out in this ball game. I think it's going to be a heck of a game, and I think Green Bay may rebound in this one.
This one down the middle and nearly picked again. And this Arizona Cardinals offense is as off as we've seen it in a long time.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what Carson Palmer saw on this throw. He tries to lay it, and it's overthrown. There's 3 defenders in the area. Just tries to force something in, and they said Carson Palmer is as good as there is in this league. You see, Pete Carroll knows they missed on an opportunity. That's one thing about this defense that has probably been the most disappointing. They got 1 interception already today, but overall this year just have not created the takeaways that you would expect from a defense that's as aggressive as they are.
Lane almost had his second of the day. Here's Johnson. As Wagner loses his helmet. A gain of 5. Jordan Hill on the stop.
You know, Joe, you talked earlier about Seattle and, you know, the start that they had to this year. They start off 0-2, and then they win 2 games to get back to 500. Then they lose 2 more. They're at 2-4, and then they got hot. And you were wondering if they were ever going to really get it going. Well, they certainly did. The 5-game win streak, and you know, last week. But they knew when this season began that their year was going to be determined on what happens in this month. And now they've put themselves in a position to go see what they can do, even though they got to go through the wild card round.
They're down at 5. Palmer fires it. Pass is caught for a first down by David Johnson. So Johnson is good for 6. And Carson Palmer has just set the franchise record for pass yardage in a season. Neil Lomax had the record, 4,614 in 1984. Now Carson Palmer has the franchise best.
Pretty impressive then when you think about Neil Lomax. He was a great quarterback, but at a different time. And knowing that Kurt Warner was putting up some pretty good numbers while he was here, surprised that Kurt had never eclipsed it.
Here's one to David Johnson, who did not have his head around. 2nd and 10 coming up. Roy Green was a favorite target for Neil Lomax back in the day in St. Louis. And what was a dynamic offense? They had a dynamic offense in the 70s under Don Coryell, Air Coryell, but it's this version of the Cardinals, franchise that started back in 1920, that's setting all the offensive records with what they've done under Carson Palmer here in 2015, now 16. 2nd and 10. Here's another one batted back toward Palmer, who knocks it down as Deshaun Shedd almost came away with a pick. 3rd and 10.
Boy, Carson Palmer, he had something too. If that ball doesn't get knocked down, and he's fortunate that it wasn't intercepted, as Averill, he goes up and he knocks it down, but they had David Johnson out of the backfield on the post route, and he had some room to run.
Third down and 10. Carolina extends their lead to 7. Third down and 15.
False start. Offense, number 62. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
7th straight start at right guard for Ted Larson. Spot man by Jonathan Cooper to start the year.
Yeah, we had that game last week, Joe, with the Cardinals and Packers, and that's about as good as it gets for any team. I mean, they dominated that football game. The Cardinals did, and you say, can they keep it going as they go into the postseason? I can assure you right now, as good as that was, Bruce Arians cannot be happy with the offense or the defense here in this first half and the way that they've looked. It has been sluggish.
3rd down and 15. Palmer fires it, and he's got Floyd, who can't hang on. A fastball from Floyd could not make the connection.
And Carson Palmer, he takes a pretty good shot at the end of this play, but a well-thrown ball. It's down low where Floyd can go get it and protect himself, and just not able to handle it. And you see at the end of that play, Michael Bennett, he came in off of his block and got into Carson Palmer.
Butler hits a beauty. Back inside the 20 is Lockett. Right up the gut. Tyler Lockett. Flag is down as Jefferson forces him out. But this looks like it's coming all the way back yet again. Right now, a 55-yard return. But we're coming back down to the other end. They got Richard Sherman earlier on a good return by Lockett.
Personal foul, grasping the face pass. Number 10 of the kicking team. That penalty will be added to the dead ball spot. First down.
Everybody is down on the other end of the field. And now they have to make the long trek back. And the return will stand with a penalty added at the end of the play. Let's take a look. Sherman was hot at the end of this. It's Britton Golden. That's where they threw the flag. They said
he's right at the very
face
end.
Mask?
Yeah, right at the very end of that play. As you saw, they were engaged, but that's why Sherman went to the ground. You're right. Both of these teams just figured that it was on Seattle, and they're backing up.
Here's another angle. I think he's got the hair, not the face mask. Either way, the flag is against Arizona. It's against the receiver, Britton Golden, and it moves the ball inside the 10. Wilson. This one is caught for the touchdown. Chase Kaufman. What a battle it's been for Chase Kaufman, who was a celebrated tight end coming out of Missouri. It's never really clicked for him in the NFL, but because of injuries, he's on the active roster, and he gets the touchdown here.
Well, initially, Russell Wilson comes out. He's going to hit Derek Coleman in the flat, just like he did Tuku Afu on the previous touchdown. It's not there. He comes back off of it immediately to the crossing route to Chase Kaufman. And the Seattle team is looking good, and all these teams around the league that may be facing them in the postseason, not real happy about that.
Yeah, they got to be thinking, a guy who started the year in Tennessee, has been on and off the roster for Seattle, is into the end zone from 8 yards away. And for Russell Wilson, he has now set a team record with his 33rd touchdown pass this season. And we'll go back to the penalty. Sherman thought it was against him. That's where they threw the flag. Golden still pleading his case. And on that last look, it looked like Golden had a hold of the hair of Richard Sherman and not the face mask of Richard Sherman. And Golden is thinking that the penalty was against number 25. Instead, he got it. And there's the right hand on the hair and pulling the hair of Richard Sherman. But the return by Lockett, he is a weapon. And then the penalty that was added to the end of it. It's a 66-yard punt return and a season long for the Seahawks. Previous long was 57 by Lockett. And a good moment for Chase Kaufman.
Well, I'll give the officials a little bit of a break, trying to determine whether it's hair or face mask or whatever it is. The way that this half has gone, though, for Seattle, I'm not sure it made much of a difference on the outcome of that possession.
I would agree. Seattle is winning in all three phases. Offense, defense, and now most recently special teams. But I'm with you, Bruce Arians. We talked to Carson Palmer about Bruce from the outside. You see Arians, we read the quotes. He's a funny guy. He's like the uncle you want to hang with at the family reunion. He said inside the building, he is the opposite of that. He's a grinder. He's on us. He demands perfection, doesn't waste time. That's why he's been so successful. He has got to be really disappointed here today.
I can only imagine what he's going to have to say to this football team at halftime, but you've got to then ask yourself, with the score what it is and the way they have looked, I think Carson comes out and these others to start this second half, but how long will that continue?
Palmer, Fitzgerald underneath, and he draws a crowd. Jordan Hill, who is back after missing time with a toe injury himself. He missed the last 4 games on the tackle.
It's an interesting deal, though, when you start talking about confidence and what that means to a football team and how quickly you can lose it and how quickly you can recapture it.
Here's one that is incomplete for John Brown, and with that down to Aaron Andrews.
Just to add on that, I spoke to Earl Thomas, Joe. You had mentioned the last time the Seahawks were here, they lost the Super Bowl. I asked Earl Thomas today, I said, what was the feeling like when you walked back in? He said, not going to lie, I was kind of sick to my stomach. But then I grabbed my secondary and I said, let's get motivated. Let's win this thing today and get back up to the Super Bowl. So you almost kind of wonder if walking into this building kind of woke this team up a little bit.
Well, they're playing great.
It doesn't take much to wake Earl Thomas up. That guy brings it every week.
3rd down and 4. Palmer has a man. Pass broken up. Good play by Lane.
Oh, that's such a great job by Jeremy Lane, because the ball is caught and he plays through the receiver to the football, and it's just an excellent job. John Brown has the ball with strong hands, and Lane just comes in and knocks it out. And that's the one spot where you look at, when you've got Richard Sherman, that other corner is going to be targeted an awful lot. And we talked about Deshaun Shedd, who had been getting the work, but right now they're leaning on Jeremy Lane to be that guy opposite of Sherman.
Here's Lockett with another chance. Here's Lockett doing it again. Makes a move inside the 30, and this time no flags on the field. And Tyler Lockett is having some first half here in Arizona.
I tell you what, this Seattle team is sending a message loud and clear to the Arizona Cardinals. It's pretty incredible how dominant they have been through the first 30 minutes of this ball game. Tyler Lockett now the second time to just puncture the return team right in the middle, and a big return.
42 yards after a 66-yarder. The second oldest head coach in the NFL, who is in constant movement on the sideline, down to congratulate the 3rd-round pick out of K-State. Here's Michael. How about a Carolina game break? Here's Kurt.
And another rookie not helping Arizona's cause is Cameron Artis-Payne, the rookie out of Auburn. Scores an 11-yard touchdown. Carolina right now up 17-3 over Tampa. And, of course, if they win, it doesn't matter what happens for the Arizona Cardinals as far as that top seed goes. Joe, Troy, and Aaron?
Yeah, Kurt, and that's why the spotlight will now fall right on Bruce Arians.
Yeah, I think if Seattle scores a touchdown here and then you combine that with that score in Carolina, I would have to think Arians is going to put Carson Palmer down,
so to speak. There's one into the end zone, incomplete. Say Helfet was the intended target. 3rd down and 7. I just don't. I don't think rolling the dice to get a little bit of a better taste in your mouth at the end of this game is worth risking anything. This team has had an unbelievable year centered around number 3, and they need him in 2 weekends.
They sure do, and they had a great year last year, and then they were on their 3rd quarterback, and no one has forgotten what that felt like either.
3rd down and 7. End zone. Pass is caught. What a throw and catch. Jermaine Kearse. The roll that Russell Wilson has been on may have hit a bump last week, but he is back on it. He is now 10 for 13, 3 touchdowns.
Guy's been red hot, and they go after Justin Bethel. We saw the Packers go after him last week, and now they come back with Jermaine Kearse. They tried it earlier with Helfet. Well, Russell Wilson, he is red hot.
24-yarder, 3 touchdowns to 3 different receivers. And the only hiccup is a missed extra point. And that's now 4 missed extra points by Steven Hauschka. The other guy's missed 5. He's missed 4. We didn't even used to call extra points. It was just like, oh, yeah, now it's another point, and then you go to commercial. It's turning into one of the most exciting plays in the NFL.
Well, really, it has, and it's going to be really interesting to see the impact that that's going to have in the postseason, because that's when it really comes up and is big, and these teams that are so evenly matched. And hey, the league and Roger Goodell, they got tired of, it was like you said, it was just automatic, and they wanted to make it, a little bit more entertaining and not as predictable, and they got what they wanted.
So these two guys, who are good kickers, by the way, have had solid seasons. have missed more extra points combined between the two of them than the entire league missed last year in 2014. 9 between the two guys after the league missed 8 for the whole year last year.
I can only imagine how that creeps into your head too, you know, when you've missed them like that. And I would imagine it's like golf, and I know what it does to me.
We both get a little
when
yippy.
I miss one.
And Hauschka takes out the frustration on the kickoff. The new Fox Tuesday is comedy's biggest night. Catch brand new episodes of New Girl, Grandfathered, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and The Grinder. It all kicks off this Tuesday right here on Fox. Tyler Lockett's getting stretched out, and his return yards have outgained the Arizona offense with just over 2 to play in the first half. Palmer finds Fitzgerald. Arizona still coming at him. That'll take us to the 2-minute warning. With Arizona down 24 points here at home and looking like the number 2 seed in the upcoming playoff scene in the NFC. Get apps, videos, and more at itunes.com/NFL. Second down and 1. 2 minutes left, 1 timeout. And again, not on the same page. This time it's David Johnson. He was taken off. The throw was behind him. The last meeting in Arizona, Seattle won 35-6. It was the Cardinals' worst loss under Bruce Arians. Carson Palmer did not start that game. Arians talked about wanting to win here at home for the first time in his 3-year tenure against Seattle. And this has been a lopsided affair. Now 3rd down and 1. Blocked. That's Averill. And Cliff Averill up to get it, knocked it down. It's 4th down, and the frustration continues to mount for Bruce Arians.
Well, they're going to throw the quick wide receiver screen to the outside, but that's the thing about this Seattle defense is they're veteran guys. They've seen a lot, and they're rarely fooled. And so when the quarterback pulls up and he's going to throw it immediately, you see the reaction by Cliff Averill, and he bats it down. And they had 2nd and short, and they failed to convert on 2nd and 3rd down.
Lockett driven back inside the 20. Sherman was out there blocking for him. Lockett again. Just tripped up at the end of the run back by Stephon Taylor, and that may have saved a touchdown.
Yeah, this guy has been really incredible as a return guy. Certainly he's put it all on display here today. Well, you talked a little bit earlier, Joe, and you know, when they first brought him in and drafted him, this was the role that they really thought that he was going to be isolated with, was as a special teams return guy, and they kind of needed him then to step in and be a wide receiver, and he's been outstanding in that area. And there's a battle that's been going on throughout this half also.
Richard Sherman on the young receiver Britton Golden. A minute 38 left. 1 timeout for Seattle. Trying to pour it on here. Here's Fred Jackson. Gets involved for the first time. Out of bounds after a gain of 6. Minter is out there for Arizona. Here's Baldwin. Curse was out there in the way of defenders, and Baldwin just broke completely free Good for 12 yards.
Well, we talked about Doug Baldwin's route run. He's not the fastest guy, but look at what he does to Powers. I mean, he just completely turns him around. You're expecting that maybe there was a pick there because they're in man coverage. He starts him like he's going to the middle of the field, and he gets Powers crossed up, and that's just great route running by Doug Baldwin.
Russell Wilson now has the passing yardage record for a single season, moving in front of Matt Hasselbeck. A record he set in 07. The records keep falling. Wilson keeps moving. Pass is incomplete, but a flag at the end of it. Gerard Powers was out there defending Doug Baldwin, and the flag was thrown at the end of the play.
There's no foul for offensive pass interference. Second down.
So they pick up the flag.
God, I don't even know what they were looking at to throw the flag initially.
Clock has stopped with 1:21 left. 2nd and 10. Seattle's been the #1 seed in the NFC playoff picture the last 2 years. It'll be a #5 or a #6 seed at the end of the day. Man, they look good. 2nd and 10. Free play. End zone shot for Lockett out of his reach. Arizona came across early.
Offside. Defense number 93 moved into the neutral zone prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
And we showed that graphic, Joe, of the year Russell Wilson has had. He's approaching 4,000 yards. He'll have that by the end of this ball game. And I mean, you talk about the Seattle offense, you say, yeah, it's built around the beast mode and running the ball, and which it is, but it really says a lot about, one, the game we're in today, the way the league is played, but 4,000 yards passing, that's a great year.
Wilson finds the tight end Kaufman coming off that touchdown, and Kaufman's got another 1st down. He was a real good pass catching tight end in Missouri and has just never really clicked in the NFL, and because of a concussion by Luke Wilson, an injury to Anthony McCoy. Here he is. Wilson spins out, throws, and finds the young receiver Kevin Smith, who can't hang on. Typically, you're thinking somebody in that position like Wilson's going to throw it out of bounds. He found a receiver. Smith couldn't make the catch. That's what's coming up on the Visa halftime. Patriots' loss means Denver can secure a #1 seed with a win over San Diego, and they will look at the playoff picture in both the AFC and NFC.
Well, Kevin Smith, another undrafted wide receiver. In fact, Tyler Lockett, the only receiver on this team that was drafted.
Pass is incomplete as Russell Wilson got smoked by Okafor.
Well, he sure did. He got lit up at the end of this play, and you know, there's some hits, Joe, that you say, well, they're not really all that bad. That's not one of them. I mean, that's a significant hit when you're in the motion of throwing the ball and you got your arm up and exposed. Okafor just beat his man and got to Wilson.
If anything happens to #3, this first half and what they've been able to do won't mean anything. They've got to keep him clean back there. Now 3rd down and 10. Seattle 5 for 6 on 3rd down. End zone. Incomplete. 4th down. Baldwin off his hands. And they'll bring on Hauschka.
Yeah, you talk about maybe, you know, what would happen if you don't have Wilson. You got Tavares Jackson, who's the backup, and, you know, a 10-year veteran, but just 3 pass attempts here in the last 2 years. So someone who hasn't seen the field much here in recent seasons.
40-yard drive by Hauschka. He's hit from 52. tugs it left. With 27 seconds left, Arizona will come back out on the field with their offense. Snap good, hold good. Kick was not.
Now he pulls it, and you know, I played for a guy in Dallas, Joe, that, you know, that happened. I'd be a little worried as to whether or not you're going to have your pink slip when you got to your locker the next day. And I'm not suggesting that'll happen to Hauschka, but that's a real concern, as we said. I mean, this has been a great first half for the Seattle team, but to go into the postseason and be a little concerned about where you're at in that department is concerning, not to suggest that he won't be able to pull it together.
First time the Seahawks have not scored at the end of a drive. Palmer, Johnson, room to run. A hop out of bounds with 19 seconds left. 18 yards for the rookie David Johnson, a third-round pick out of Northern Iowa.
Well, this crowd here, they came to this ball game and really looking to have a lot to cheer about. They've been just waiting and waiting and waiting, and just this team just hasn't given them anything.
Carson Palmer is now the 18th player in NFL history to throw for more than 40,000 yards. Career year at the age of 36 now. The former Heisman Trophy winner at USC under Pete Carroll. Johnson again, trying to get out of bounds, and he's able to force his way out as he broke a tackle by Richard Sherman. Good effort there by David Johnson.
Yeah, it was. And you know, Sherman does the best he can, and for a great cover guy, he really is a good tackler, a very willing tackler as well. We see him on special teams. I think that says a lot for him, but trying to make a tackle in the open field on David Johnson, that's not easy to do for any corner.
Cardinals have a timeout. They do not have to go to the sideline here. 2nd and 1. Pass is incomplete with J.J. Nelson the target. And I think that's twice that Palmer and Nelson have been on different pages of the playbook. 3rd down and 1, and now 6 seconds remain.
Yeah, so now you got to make a decision. Even though you've got one timeout, if the guy catches the ball, he's either got to score, or he's got to get down immediately and call timeout, depending on how long it takes for Carson to get the ball out of his hand.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
It'll be a 60-yard try from this spot. Quick throw, sideline, and that makes the try manageable as John Brown is out of bounds with 2 seconds left, and here comes a field goal unit for the Cardinals. A gain of 9 by Brown, who has 45 on the day. And with his 45 yards, he is over 1,000 yards for the season. So records are falling and personal goals are being reached, and here's Catanzaro for a 51-yard try. Catanzaro hits the upright. And this has not been a kicking clinic, as Catanzaro now has missed from 51 and his 5th extra point. Aaron Andrews is down there ready to get info from what should be a happy Pete Carroll. Herb Menifee in LA with the guys. The Visa halftime starts right now. Here's today's excitement, brought to you by Nissan. Was today's excitement, brought to you by Nissan. The excitement has been had by the visitors. 30-6 as we begin the second half here in just a moment. Welcoming you back inside the booth. I'm Joe Buck, along with the Hall of Famer Troy Aikman. And it's hard to believe a couple things. That Seattle lost last week at home to St. Louis. You know, they've kind of had their number. And that this is the same Arizona Cardinals team that we saw just dismantle the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I think coming into the game, I think Bruce Arians really wanted to be able to send a message, that they were going to be able to finish and play well against this team that they've struggled with at home in recent years. But we came in talking about Pete Carroll and what he wanted to do, and he wanted to prove that last week was an aberration and that they were as good as they had been playing prior to that loss. And man, they sure showed it here in the first 30 minutes of this game.
Really winning in all three phases. And we get to see the Seattle offense yet again here at the start of the second half. Lockett takes a knee, and we take you down to Aaron Andrews.
Joe, I just spoke with Bruce Arians coming out of the half, and he said with Carolina up 24-3 right now, every starter will return for the Cardinals except for Carson Palmer. I asked him why isn't he taking anyone else out, and he said because nobody is showing me any energy. Nobody came to play, and I'm sending a message like Troy said. I need them to come out and do something. I asked him with his offense what was the thing that bothered him the most, and he said, well, that three guys were open and nobody could catch a ball whatsoever. And I said, when will other guys start to come out? When will you pull out more starters? And he said, when I simply see more energy on the field.
Well, it's interesting with the bye week coming up next week. Meanwhile, a flag at the end.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, kicking team number 59. 15-yard penalty, first down.
So they get Alani Fua, a backup linebacker, a rookie from BYU. It was just a touchback, and there's Fua, who throws a right, and that gets 15 more yards. Thought it was an interesting quote by Bruce Arians with regard to today's game. He said some guys get very stale quickly, and he's been through it before with bye weeks when he was with the Steelers and all their success with Ben Roethlisberger. Carson Palmer's day evidently is finished. But he's the only one to this point. Russell Wilson back out there, handoff to Michael. And Christian Michael throws a forearm and picks up a first down. A stiff arm right into the face at the middle part of a 12-yard run of Justin Bethel. And get out of my way.
Well, we heard Aaron Andrews, give her report after talking to Bruce Arians, and, him not happy with the first half, and the guys did not come out to play, and we've seen that type of physical play from Seattle on both sides of the ball, and they've just taken it to them.
Michael bottled up 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
We're rocking now. We're rocking now. We're rocking now.
First half possessions for Seattle. Only a missed field goal by Hauschka. Ended one without points, but they have dominated play so far. Now 2nd and 12.
And this is a Cardinals defense that really is outstanding. They're hard to score points against. They're giving up just 18 points a game, but Seattle hung 30 up there in that first half. So this has been everything that Pete Carroll had hoped it would be coming into this game.
Pass caught by Baldwin, and then he lowers his shoulder to prepare for the hit. The hit delivered by Tony Jefferson, a gain of 7.
It is a tough decision, I think the good thing in Carolina is they knew they had to win in order to maintain home field advantage throughout, which is awfully rare when you've only lost one game that you have to win in week 17. But that becomes a topic of conversation every year as to how you're going to handle it as a coach. And the fact that Carson Palmer is healthy, and he did take some hits in that first half, and he's now on the safe confines of the sidelines, I think makes every Cardinal fan happy.
Pass caught. That's enough for a first down. And a good effort here by Kaufman. You think about where Seattle's been, the guys that they've lost, Marshawn Lynch, who they hope to get back. But they lost his backup, Rawls, and they lost one of the big weapons in the league over the last handful of years, Jimmy Graham, who had 48 catches through 11 games played, just 2 touchdowns. But the offense has gotten better. This is a more dynamic offense after the injuries. Wilson keeps it. They're not protecting him. He protects himself by getting out of bounds.
You know, Joe, the last time we had a Seattle game was when they played against the Dallas Cowboys, and they won that game. I think it was a 13-12 game or something. But the offense had really been struggling. Certainly by the score, you would know that they struggled in that game as well. And it just seemed like there was a bit of a divide at that time. The defense had been playing great. Offense had been struggling. And that had kind of been the story here at various times. And you talk about them losing those players. It came at a time when Russell Wilson really needed to kind of take this team and lead them, and he was able to do that through great performance on the field. And I think it came at the right time and really helped galvanize this football team.
Here's Michael on the handoff, breaks a tackle, picks up a first down. And you can see why they like Christine Michael since getting him back. A gain of 12. And that was going nowhere early.
A couple strong runs now to start this half. He's met in the backfield immediately, but he's able to bounce off of him and finish off this run. Kareem Martin, who stepped in for Marcus Golden, had a shot at him in the backfield for a loss, and just some good tough running there by Christine Michael.
He's got 12 carries, 88 yards, over 7 yards a carry. Now he's got Tukuafu in front of him, tries the right side. Well played. DJ Swearinger, the safety, came up. No gain.
And we also heard Aaron Andrews in that first half talk about Marshawn Lynch and his workout routines. He said he was working out 8 to 10 hours a day. I mean,
yeah.
What does that entail? That's a lot of working out.
It is. Maybe a lunch break, I would think. Nice to get some food, hydrate.
Sounds like a pretty strong New Year's resolution to me.
2nd and 10. This one is tipped in the air, incomplete. Lockett, the intended target. Justin Bethel is now on his back, and they're already thinned out a bit in their secondary. Aaron, 8 to 10 hours of a workout day for Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, and he's going to an MMA gym, but that's not the training he's doing. Obviously, it's a lot of core work. I did ask, though, are Skittles allowed during this training? And Tarek told me there's no way he could pry Skittles from Beast Mode's hand. So still allowed in the diet, guys.
3rd down and 10.
Well, something tells me he's working it off.
Play clock is expiring. Carroll got a timeout. Pete Carroll called the timeout.
Prior to the snap, charge timeout. Seattle, they're first. It will be 30 seconds.
It's been a painful season injury-wise for Seattle. Their key injuries, guys that have missed games. Bruce Irvin missed one. Tukuafu one. Wagner one. Wilson now one. Cam Chancellor 2. Okun 2. Rawls. Chancellor now 2 because of injury, 2 because of that holdout at the beginning of the year. 4 for Graham, 7 for Marshawn Lynch. And Jeremy Lane missed 10. Lane has a pick in this game and has looked really good at the corner spot opposite Richard Sherman, and they are anxious to get their big left tackle Russell Okun back. Pictured there, out for the 2nd straight week with a bad calf.
You know, with all those guys they have lost at various times, the guy that has been there the entire time has been Russell Wilson. That's certainly been a real key to this season.
3rd down and 10. Wilson's protected, and now here's Kaufman coming out, makes the catch, and is going to be a yard and a half short of a first down. He was in helping to protect Russell Wilson, then he's able to sneak out and pick up 8. And Russell Wilson now is the first Seattle quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season.
And I guess we'll kind of see, we'll see what happens here on the field goal, but we'll also kind of see with Bruce Arians pulling Carson Palmer, will Pete Carroll do the same with Russell Wilson?
Hauska 1 for 2. 2 for 3, and that's the most points scored against Arizona this season. 33. See Drew Stanton when we come back. 33-6. Seattle.
Today's game is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By the all-new Fiat 500X crossover. By Pepsi. Go behind the scenes of the Pepsi Super Bowl 50 halftime show only on Pepsi.com. And by Burger King. Now get 10 chicken nuggets for $1.49 only at BK.
We were talking about the most points allowed by Arizona, the 33 put up by Seattle today. They had 32 in the first game. A 10-play drive ends on the field goal by Hauschka. There's Kerwin Williams on the return. Well played downfield by Seattle. And that's Cassius Marsh making the play. Carson Palmer is finished. The end of a frustrating day for this Cardinals offense on America's Game of the Week. Drew Stanton takes over at quarterback from the 10. And he hands off to David Johnson. You think about Carson Palmer in the year that he's put together. I mean, there have been times where this offense for Arizona has looked unstoppable. And it's revolved around Carson Palmer, who will end the regular season with these numbers. And you know, with the perfectionist that he is, he's going to be really frustrated with the way Week 17 went here today.
Well, they got 2 weeks, and you can bet that Bruce Arians will use that to his advantage. It'll make this team a little sharper and give them an edge as they go into this bye week next weekend.
2nd down and 7, and Johnson able to hang on to the ball. It'll bring up a 3rd down. Jay Glazer, meanwhile, there's some flags that fly at the end of the play. We'll bring Jay in just a second. I'm going to get into Jay's wheelhouse here in a sec. But we'll get the call first.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 77, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
That's the 2nd personal foul in the game against Ataba Rubin. And he had Larry Fitzgerald on his back. I can't say I blame him. Well, here's Jay Glazer, and Jay, they call it Black Monday around the NFL with coaching changes on the horizon. And why don't you take us through at least what's on your radar right now?
Well, I think the first one that's going to come up here is the Cleveland Browns. You're already going to see Mike Pettin, who's going to go in and meet in about a half hour here with the owner, Jimmy Haslam, and he's obviously going to be the general manager as well. And you're going to have a lot of teams, I think, that last year we had some shockers. I think the shocker already happened with Chip Kelly earlier this week. And you see some of the names up here. Look, we see, again, Mike Pettin. Chuck Pagano. Guys, the craziest thing is last year, if he'd lost that playoff game, the divisional playoff game, they were considering firing him last year. In this offseason, they offered him a contract extension 1 year to be the lowest paid head coach in the NFL. So the writing is on the wall there. Jim Tomasula, I think he's going to be out also after 1 year. And Tom Coughlin, guys, they're not going to fire Tom. That's not going to happen. But when it's time to move on, which I believe ends up happening this week, they'll make sure that they do right by Tom. He'll kind of walk off from the sunset.
We'll stick with Jay here after an incompletion by Stanton brings up 2nd and 10. Here's one pick. That was easy. Earl Thomas slides in front. And the 2nd interception thrown by an Arizona quarterback today. John Brown, the intended target. And they don't get much easier for Earl Thomas, his 5th of the year.
You can see Earl Thomas, he just gets lost back there, and Stanton just does not see him at all. The other receiver in the slot maybe blocked his view a little bit from being able to locate the safety. He tries to fit it on the outside, and Earl Thomas, who reads coverages, he reads splits, he's really a student of the game. He's got great athletic ability and just does an outstanding job of reading the play and then getting the interception.
So we saw the 5 from Jay Glazer, who are on their way out. Dan Campbell, he didn't get a chance to talk about, but how about coaches who are staying? And we'll go back to Jay after this first play from Russell Wilson here from the 33. Handoff is to Bryce Brown. Back to the line of scrimmage. Who's staying, Jay?
Look, Dan Quinn, the Atlanta Falcons, obviously they had a tough end to the season there, but Dan Quinn's going to end up staying. He's going to try and make sure that Thomas Dimitroff stays with him as a general manager. He's going to go to Arthur Blank and try and make that happen. Also, Mike McCoy, there's been a lot of up and down about McCoy. That game's still going on, obviously, with the Denver Broncos. Earlier, it looked like he was gone. Now it doesn't look like it is. We know Dan Campbell, he's out. Jeff Fisher, I think he ends up staying in St. Louis as well. And then Troy, last thing, the Joneses are adamant that Jason Garrett is back no matter what.
Yeah. Jay, thank you. And why don't we just stay with Dallas? They lost today. They had a 4-win season. They won 1 game at home. But according to Jay, and I think according to you, Jason Garrett is safe with the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, he is. He just signed a new contract. All of the assistant coaches are finishing up their first year on new deals. And hey, tomorrow's Black Monday. It's a tough time in this business. It's a tough profession, as we know. A lot of good coaches lose their jobs. So there's no disgrace in that. Tom Coughlin's the one who I hate to see leave our game. And I'm glad that if he does, it'll be on his terms.
3rd down and 3. Pass caught, 1st down. Doug Baldwin as the Seahawks are still coming at the Cardinals. 1st down, Seattle.
Yeah, and I guess I should clarify that. It's obviously not on his terms. He's a football coach. It's what he'd like to do. But if they're going to make a move and they allow him then to step down on his own, he's not likely then going to go somewhere else and coach. But you know, I think I speak for both of us, Joe. He's one of the guys who we've really enjoyed covering. He's a great football coach, and I don't know that he got a lot of help from that front office, especially here in the last few seasons.
On 1st down, Wilson throws, pass incomplete, looking for Kevin Smith. I think Tom Coughlin, of all the head coaches we deal with, he's a gentleman first. He's in charge of every facet of that organization below the front office. He's a smart, dedicated football man. He was obviously willing to change with the times after coming from Jacksonville and coming in kind of with a heavy hand. Then he had the players committee, and he was willing to listen to players and their concerns. He won 2 Super Bowls there. This season could have been completely different if they could have finished games, but it was a year of 4th quarter lead mistakes and not able to finish the deal. And had they been able to, that's probably a playoff team with the Giants, and he stays another year.
Yeah, it started that way in week 1, and you know, we had the Giants a few weeks back. I asked him what his hobbies were, that when the time came for him to no longer coach, what exactly would he do? And first thing he said was he's going to spend time with those grandkids that he's got. And I thought it was pretty cool that today at the game, in pregame warmups, in what is likely his last game as the head coach of the Giants, his family and his grandkids were all there with him.
3rd down and 7. Wilson spins around and down he goes. Brought down by Freeney. And he's celebrating another $100,000 in his bank account. Signed in mid-October. And he's to the point in his contract now where he's getting $100,000 a sack. And after having 3 last week, he's got his first today.
Pretty incredible. He was signed in mid-October, and he's leading the team in sacks. Heck, he had 3 sacks last week against Green Bay, and then he rings another one up here today.
Russell Wilson now sacked for the 45th time. That's the most he's been sacked in a single season in the NFL. 52-yard try is good from Hauschka. You going to keep Hauschka on your team now?
Yeah, he was never going anywhere.
Okay, good. 36-6 in the desert.
Today's game is sponsored by Verizon. Better matters.
Aerial coverage provided by Nationwide as we continue here in quarter number 3. A game dominated by the Seahawks. 52-yarder by Hauschka. His second of the game. He is 3 for 4. He has missed from 40. But a 30-point game with under 5 to go in quarter number 3. Russell Wilson has had a huge day. The Seahawks have won this game on offense, defense, and special teams, leading by 30. The 40th year of the Seattle Seahawks franchise, and it looks like Russell Wilson will become the first quarterback to win that quarterback rating title around the NFL. This was a matchup of the top 2 rated quarterbacks, and Russell Wilson, if his day is over, and it kind of feels like it should be, 124.2 today, and he came in leading the NFL at 109.3. What a run he has been on over 7 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. Since the last time these two teams met 7 weeks ago, Russell Wilson has thrown 24 touchdowns and 1 interception. And the 1 interception was last week against the Rams on 3rd and long, and he essentially just threw a Hail Mary to see what would happen, and it was intercepted. And I mean, those are crazy numbers regardless of who you're talking about.
Here's Andre Ellington, who was taken over at running back for David Johnson. He picks up a couple. It'll bring up 3rd down and short. Ellington was the starter at the beginning of the year. They had Chris Johnson, who is on IR, designated to return. He put together a strong season before a knee injury. Really, David Johnson has taken over. And it looks like his day is finished as Ellington is in the backfield next to Drew Stanton.
Yeah, and if Ellington, you know, like you said, if he can stay healthy, he's a real weapon.
3rd down and 2, and the pass is batted down as Bruce Irvin was there to knock it back at Drew Stanton. 3 and out.
Yeah, not real smooth here in this second half, and Bruce Irvin, we've seen him. We saw Averill do it earlier. Now Bruce Irvin, he's able to get a hand on the ball. And, you know, on the one hand, you say, well, you know, maybe Arians just wants to run the ball and shorten this game. But, you know, you also want to get this backup Stanton as many opportunities to throw the football.
Lockett with a fair catch. He's had punt returns of 66, 42, and 31. Russell Wilson's day is not over. Back he goes. Cardinals came into this game having won 9 straight. They are getting thumped here at home. Russell Wilson still in the game, and you expect a lot of this. Quick throws from Russell Wilson. I think you could make a strong argument that it's about time to get him out of the game. Look what he's done over the last 7 as his team leads by 30 here in Glendale, Arizona.
Well, I think Pete Carroll just wants to get this game into the 4th quarter, and I would not disagree with that. You know, when there's still over 15 minutes left to play, a lot of things can happen, even as dominant as Seattle has been in this game. And if they get into the 4th and he's still in, then I would start to question it a little bit.
Here is Cooper Helfet, the tight end, with a 1st down. The argument on the other side of that is Carson Palmer's already out of the game, so any crazy comeback by Arizona would have to happen under the control of Drew Stanton, not Carson Palmer. But they're going to protect Russell Wilson with the play calling. Kevin Minter is down on a knee. He'll get attention from the training staff for the Cardinals. 2:23 left in the 3rd quarter. You can watch every NFL playoff game live on your phone with NFL Mobile. Here's what we know. Seattle wins this game, and they lead here by 30. If Green Bay wins, Seattle becomes a number 5 seed because the other wild card team is Minnesota. Seattle beat Minnesota, so Seattle moves to a number 5, and they go to the Washington Redskins in the wild card round. That's if Green Bay wins tonight. If Minnesota wins tonight, no matter what transpires here, it'll be Seattle at Minnesota, the number 6 seed against the number 3 seed, because in week 2 Seattle lost on the road at Green Bay. That NFC North is up for grabs tonight at Lambeau Field. And the Green Bay Packers have something to prove at home against their divisional rival.
That's right. Oh, shoot. Wide, 90, wide.
Handoff is to Kristen Michael. Gets a yard. Rodney Gunter on the stop.
Yeah, I think, along those lines, Joe, the Minnesota Vikings, they've got, really something to prove as well. A young team, second-year head coach, and Mike Zimmer, young quarterback. And when they've had big games this year, they have struggled in a number of them, including, when they had a chance to really take control of that division against the Green Bay Packers. So they get a chance to kind of take it to the next level as a young football team tonight.
Here's Michael right side. Minter is back in there, by the way, for Arizona. One of the top 3 leading tacklers on this Cardinals defense. And Michael gets 4 over the right side.
Of course, one of those games, too, that the Vikings struggled in was at home against the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle just dismantled them when they played there. So, as we've talked about, the way that this Seahawks team has played in the second half of the season, they're a dangerous football team heading into the postseason. And I can't imagine, Minnesota, if they were to win tonight, being real excited, knowing that this is who they're going to face.
3rd down and 5. Wilson keeps it and slides down. Dwight Freeney is the guy who made that play happen. He blew it up, and with under a minute to go in the 3rd quarter, we'll see if that is the last on the field sighting of Russell Wilson. A loss of 9.
Good job by Russell Wilson, however, knowing that he was outnumbered and wasn't going anywhere, that he protected himself. I know that made Pete Carroll happy that he didn't take an unnecessary hit.
First punt of the day for John Ryan. Back with a fair catch is young J.J. Nelson. We'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world, watching today's broadcast in 175 countries and aboard ships at sea on AFN, the American Forces Network. Thanks for all you do. We hope you're enjoying today's telecast as you look at the statue dedicated to the late Pat Tillman. And with 12 seconds left in the 3rd quarter, Stanton takes over at the 10. Pass is nearly picked by Sherman as he stepped in front of John Brown. And a flag is going to be thrown for what Sherman did at the end of the play.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 25, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
That's what got the flag. I'm having flashbacks.
Yeah, you read my mind.
Where were you that night, by the way? Thanks for having my back. With me, win or tie. Collinsworth was laughing. 7 seconds left in the quarter. Downfield, and what a throw, but incomplete for John Brown.
Well, that was a really good throw. It's pretty good coverage there by Deshaun Shedd as well.
That's the end of 3. America's Game of the Week. Back after this from your local Fox station in a 30-point game. Second down and 10 for Arizona as we begin the 4th quarter. Russell Wilson outstanding today, 19 of 28, 197 yards, 3 touchdowns to 3 different receivers. No interceptions. Stanton hangs in but throws incomplete for Darren Fells, who did not have a catch last week and doesn't have one today. 3rd down and 10.
Well, the offense just continues to be out of sync. You'd expect that with Carson Palmer now on the sidelines, but for Drew Stanton, last year he had to come in. He had 8 starts, but not a guy outside of that had a great deal of playing time. It had been almost 4 years since he had thrown a pass prior to being called upon, but he did some good things only to be victim to injury himself there at the end of the year.
It's Bobby Massey.
False start. Offense, number 70. 5-yard penalty. Remains third down.
Well, Bruce Arians did say, though, that Drew Stanton on Wednesdays gets a bulk of the work, and that's unusual in the NFL for a backup to really get any first-team reps. But he gets a lot of the work on Wednesdays, and then this week, because of the soreness that Carson Palmer was experiencing in his lat from altering his throwing motion with the dislocated finger suffered a few weeks ago, he got a lot of work this week, but still not the same as getting out there in real time.
And a sack. Bennett was there. Averill was there. It brings up fourth down. And Bennett celebrates with Cliff Averill.
Well, they've just overwhelmed the Cardinals offensive line, really. I mean, they have dominated up front. On the defensive line, they've dominated on the offensive side of the ball with their offensive line, and that's why they're enjoying a 30-point lead.
Now Kevin Smith is back waiting for the punt. Lockett's day returning punts is over. And it hops out of bounds. It is Seattle's day in Glendale, Arizona. They have made a statement on their way to their 10th win, and they are going to be tough to beat this month.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet. Find new roads. By Domino's. Order online and track your order. And by Microsoft Surface, the official tablet of the NFL.
That is Fear Farm RC Raceway. And Richard Sherman explaining to Pete Carroll, his head coach, what he did to get that personal foul a moment ago as Tavares Jackson takes over. And the regular season is finished for Russell Wilson, and what a season it's been. We bring in Mike Pereira, our rules expert from back in Los Angeles, and as we make our way toward the postseason, we talk, Mike, every year about these all-star crews. Give us more as we head into the first round of the playoffs next week.
Yeah, you know me, I was always a crew guy, and for many years advanced crews intact, but it's not that way anymore. All-star crews, yes, but I think, and I've talked to Dean Blandino about this, he'll take all of these guys that qualify, and he will work to keep them together, actually. So you will at least get crews partially together, not totally, but at least there'll be some familiarity there.
5-yard penalty.
A false start here as Brad Allen goes through it. Yeah, we're talking about officiating crews, and it's never made a ton of sense to Troy and me why you go all year. It's as much a team out there with these officials as it is with the team on offense and the team on defense, and why, when it matters the most, do you break up those teams and guys are looking in different directions, not what they're used to all year?
Well, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, that's what I have felt. You know, I mean, if you take a group of officials who have worked 15 regular season games together and 4 preseason games together, you know your strengths and weaknesses, and it makes perfect sense. But listen, the officials do have a union, and as part of their CBA, they want to get as many officials as possible into the playoffs, so they break up that concept. And I'm still glad that they try to put some together at least, but to me, you advance the best teams and you advance the best crews, and to me, that's always made the most sense.
It's 3rd down and 2. One more question from Mike. As Tavares Jackson, former starter with the Vikings, is in at quarterback. Handoff to Michael. He's a yard short. Real quick, is the league happy with the switch of the extra point moving from a snap at the 2 to a snap at the 15-yard line?
You know, they are, Joe. However, everybody needs to recognize this was a 1-year rule. It was an experiment. So it expires after the postseason. They'll have to come back and vote it back in. Now, the accuracy rate, the year before this, 99.3%. This year, 94.1%. Looking at the playoffs, though, the teams that are advancing, the 12 teams have missed 27 extra point kicks to this point. And I really kind of enjoyed the little stat I got that said that the last extra point kick missed in the playoffs got to go all the way back to the 2008 season. It was David Akers when the Eagles played these Arizona Cardinals.
Meanwhile, you've got two kickers here, two good kickers, who have missed a combined 9 extra points this season, more than were missed all of last season across the NFL. Mike, thanks. We'll see you next week at our game site, wherever that may be.
Looking forward to it, Joe.
All right, good. 4th down and 1 here after a timeout is taken by Seattle. And a punt, second of the day for John Ryan. J.J. Nelson with a fair catch. Thought he waved the arm, did not. Maybe should have. As Cassius Marsh is downfield. And a loss of 2 on the return. As the Cardinals get it down 30. Fourth quarter in a 30-point game. And you look out there and you still see Michael Floyd in the lineup on offense for Arizona. That's Jerron Brown in motion. John Brown is out there. Here is Ellington. And he loses a yard. DeMarcus Dobbs on the stop.
Well, that's the thing, too. I mean, unfortunately for these teams like this, you know, you don't have the college roster, so there's a lot of guys you'd probably like to be able to put over on the sidelines. You just don't have enough bodies to replace them.
Starting offensive line still out there. Second down and 11. Stanton has a man. Floyd dropped one earlier. Michael Floyd with a first down catch as he picks up 16.
Well, we've seen Bruce Arians, you know, despite the score and the way that it's gone, I mean, he's continued to throw the football and get Drew Stanton some work. And as we know, if something happens to any of these teams starting quarterbacks, it's a real struggle. But at least Stanton is getting, you know, some good work in this second half. And who knows, maybe he'll be called upon at some point in the playoffs if something were to happen.
This is Fells. And the tight end has his first catch in 2 weeks. Knocked down by Brock Coyle, who was on the IR designated to return, went out in October. This is his 3rd game back, 2nd and 3. Start talking about the year for Russell Wilson. Club record 4,024 yards passing, club record 34 touchdown passes, and he will win that quarterback rating race, first time in Seahawks franchise history. 2nd and 3. Pass is dropped by Floyd. He's been on a good run, Michael Floyd, but he's had a couple of drops in this game.
Boy, I'll say coming into this game, in the last 7 games that he had played in, he had 5 100-yard receiving games. So, as I said, the season got off to a slow start with him with the hand injury coming into the year, but he has come on really strong here in the last 7 games he's played.
Marcus Burley has taken over at left corner for Richard Sherman. Deshaun Shedd is at right corner. 3rd and 3. Pass is caught. That's a first down. Catch made by Britton Golden. And with that, here's Kurt with a game break.
Well, Peyton Manning came in to relieve Brock Osweiler and give Denver the lead, but back come the Chargers. Phillip Rivers to undrafted rookie Tyrell Williams out of Western Oregon. First NFL catch, an 80-yard score. San Diego regains the lead by 3 in the 4th quarter. Denver, with a win, would be number 1, but if they lose, they could drop all the way down to number 5. Joe?
Kurt, thanks. We know that the Steelers are number 6 because Rex Ryan and his Buffalo Bills at home beat the Jets today. Pass is caught by tight end Nicholas.
How about that? I mean, to go from winning a game and being the #1 seed to losing and being the #5.
That's what's out in front of the Broncos, but they are losing to the San Diego Chargers at home. With Peyton Manning in the game, 2nd and 2.
Let's go. 52.
Stanton comes underneath to Ellington. And a little run put together here by Bruce Stanton. The early game headlines here in Week 17. Pittsburgh wins, they're in because the Jets lose to the Bills. The Texans win the AFC South. In the meantime, they lose 3-time Pro Bowl left tackle Dwayne Brown. That's a big loss. And without Chip Kelly fired after Week 16, the Eagles put up 35 points and win at the Meadowlands at MetLife Stadium, 35-30, I believe, over the Giants in what figures to be Tom Coughlin's finale with New York. Here's Gresham, and now all 3 tight ends on the roster have a catch on this drive.
You know, we talk about some of these coaches and the jobs that some of them have done. I mentioned Andy Reid earlier in this ball game, but how about Bill O'Brien and the Houston Texans? They started the year off 1-4, and boy, their quarterback situation was really just all over the map. You know, with Brian Hoyer and Ryan Mallett, and then Brandon Whedon got picked up. He won a few games for him, but to overcome all those things and win that division, he's done a good job.
But how ironic that the Texans proved that you can have a backup quarterback or 2 or 3 and win a division, while the other team in Texas,
I know, I live there,
can't do any of that. Here's Stanton out to his right. Pass is caught by Gresham. Do you know that Alabama, the Crimson Tide, won more games this year at AT&T Stadium than the Dallas Cowboys? They won 1 game.
Yeah, it's and poor Brandon Whedon, you know, he got run out of Dallas, and a lot of things were said by the owner on his way out, and he, as I said, stepped in Houston and won at Indianapolis for the first time in 12 or 13 years, and I guess he's a little better than they gave him credit for in Dallas.
Stanton, good drive, and now another drop. This time it's Jerron Brown. 6:15 to go.
Well, I'm excited about the postseason. You know, I mean, and I know Arizona is, and I certainly know Seattle is, and both of these teams, playoff teams from a year ago, and it is a long year. It's a long off season. You spoke earlier about the devastating loss in the Super Bowl for the Seahawks, but it was a tough road also for the Cardinals without their quarterbacks, and you go through 16 games to get back into the position in January, and hats off to both of these teams. They did it, and now they're in the dance, and I'm excited to see what happens.
2nd down and 10. Stanton pass is dropped. Gresham. Now 3rd down, and that's 3 drops that I can think of on this drive. This time it's Gresham dropping what could have and would have been a touchdown. They love what Gresham's brought, though. A free agent, former starter in Cincinnati, real good blocking tight end. He has helped their run game.
Yeah, he really has. In fact, he was one of the first guys that Bruce Arians mentioned when I asked him about the improvement of the running game. You know, he talked about the commitment that the staff has made to running the football, but they've got some good blocking tight ends.
3rd down and 10. Stanton pulls it down and gets thumped. Cliff Averill.
Well, it's like blood in the water for these Sharks. I mean, you've got Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett and Bruce Irvin, and these guys are still rushing, and they know the Cardinals are still passing, and they get an opportunity. I don't know what's in these guys' contracts, but if sacks are a part of it for some incentives that they may be able to reach, this is their opportunity, and they're going to take advantage of it.
How about Pete Carroll? I mean, he's hunched over on the sideline, watching every play, hands on his knees, fired up. What a run he's had in Seattle. This one is picked. Deshaun Shedd. Massey is there to make the tackle. But Shed with another takeaway for this Seahawks defense. What a day for the Seahawks. Shed with his first of the year.
Today's game is sponsored by Visa Checkout, the easier way to pay online. Sign up now.
From the serenity of the desert landscape to the excitement of the second oldest head coach in the NFL. Nobody runs a sideline like this guy.
No, the coaches are getting him back off the field. That's great. I mean, with this lead, he talks and he's created a culture of competition. And here in a game like this, he's as enthusiastic and as into it as anybody. And it's awesome to see.
I mean, it's fun to cover. A 30-point lead. Pass is caught by Kason Williams, who was a star coming out of high school, Skyline High School in Seattle. Went to Washington. Had a knee injury, and now he's just been added to the active roster second week as Deshaun Shed gets welcomed back to the sideline after the third takeaway for the Seattle defense.
That was a nice play by Deshaun Shed, and as I said, he was primarily playing safety, and then because of the release of Kerry Williams, they moved him to corner. Pete Carroll says, hey, that's his more natural position. We taught him how to play safety, but you know, we've just seen it over the years. They do a really good job of developing their young secondary players in Seattle.
Handoff is to Bryce Brown. Let's go down to Aaron Andrews. You on the Seattle side, Aaron?
I am. They can't keep anyone on these sidelines. Even though they pulled guys off, they want to go back in with or without their helmets. Let's talk about the Seahawks guys going into the playoffs next weekend. Wild card round. You know, both times they played in the Super Bowl, they had home field advantage. Not the case this year. They don't even know if they're going to get a game at home at all. Talking to some of the guys on the defense about this, loved their comments. Bobby Wagner telling me yesterday, we love the challenge. We want to show everybody we can play either in the snow or the dome. KJ Wright loved this. He said, we're so glad to be going on the road. The defense will finally be able to hear each other. Because, of course, when they're at home, they can't hear anything when the opposing offense is on the field.
Well, you look at the playoff picture, and we'll go through it again. It's tough to really wrap your mind around because it all depends on what happens tonight. But obviously Seattle wins here. You look at the numbers all-time postseason at home, where they have such an advantage now compared to on the road. But again, if Green Bay wins tonight, Seattle is a number 5 seed. They go to Washington. If Minnesota wins, Seattle will head to the Vikings. Penalty flag on the handoff here, and so those are the two matchups here for Seattle, and it's going to be interesting. You know, if they're a number 6 seed, which
illegal
they could
use
be.
Of the hands to the face, number 95 defense. That 5-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run, automatic first down.
There have only been 2 number 6 seeds to win it all. The 05 Steelers and the 2010 Green Bay Packers. They could also very well be a number 5 seed, but it's going to be a march on the road, and they look about as dangerous as any team we've seen this year.
Yeah, and I think what Aaron Andrews said is right. I mean, there's a lot of teams that would say, well, we're okay going on the road and having to go the tough way to get where we want to go, and I don't know if they really buy into it. This Seattle team, I mean, they're built to go on the road and play well and win, and we've seen it. And one of the main reasons is because they're so dominant on the defensive side of the ball. They can take that with them each week. Their offense, yes, their offense has been amazing. They've been really, really good here the last couple of months. But that defense, it travels very well, and who knows, they could be back here in Arizona very easily. And then, of course, if they do win in the wild card round and they end up going to Carolina, that was the game when those two teams met earlier in the season that I think allowed Carolina, along with all of the NFL fans, to realize, hey, this Carolina team, they're for real. You know, they're really good, and Seattle would have a chance to avenge that loss.
Carolina one up there. Seattle would have to go to Charlotte and 9 win there with 2:02 left. Pass is broken up, intended for Chase Kaufman. And it will be 3rd down and 8. The Seahawks, their 4th straight year with double-digit wins. And for the NFC playoff picture, #1 seed reached the Super Bowl in each of the last 2 seasons. That's the Seattle Seahawks. It will be Carolina that will try and make it 3 years in a row. It's 3rd down and 8 here for Tavares Jackson. 32 years old now. 10th year in the league. Just got it away. Pass is caught by Helfet out of bounds with 1:58 left and short of the 1st down. 2-minute warning time here in Glendale with Seattle still up by 30. America's Game of the Week continues with 1:57 seconds remaining. 4th down and 5. And the Seahawks will just go for it and then try and run out the clock.
Ready, go. Ready, go.
Not wanting to pile on any more points. The pass is caught. 1st down. And smartly staying in play is Kevin Smith. The Cardinals' only 2 losses to this point were the 2 games they did not have a takeaway. They don't have one here today. Seattle has 3 takeaways. And Bruce Arians is the opposite picture of what's on the other sideline. We've seen Pete Carroll dancing around, and Bruce Arians has been frustrated, hot, red-faced since the beginning of this game, when even his first-string offense really didn't look good. And they were out of sync to begin this game, and now time for Jackson to take a knee.
You know, I'd be real curious too, Joe, as to how Bruce Arians is going to handle it with this team as soon as the game's over. You know, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, and when he steps in to that locker room and addresses this football team, knowing that this was the last time they've played before they go on, you know, in that divisional round with the 1st round bye next weekend, and you know, does he dismiss this game and immediately take the high road, or you know, is he, you know, more of a disciplinarian in his approach, or what exactly he has to say with the club?
Seattle ran the ball well today. Christian Michael, 17 carries, a career-high 102 yards, and he had some tough runs and really showed something. And then they hope to get Marshawn Lynch back on Monday and get him rolling in the postseason. But Pete Carroll, who has taken his team to the Super Bowl, taking apart the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 48, coming so close in this stadium last year. They will roll into the postseason as a number 5 or number 6 seed with a convincing road win by 30 points here in the desert. Oakland's playing at Kansas City. Kevin Burkhardt, John Lynch, Pam Oliver are there. Bonus coverage